Okay, another episode. Bond Adventure. Whew. All right. This one was not great. Yeah, this one actually got docked some points because of a Bond girl. That's something I think I have found the worst Bond girl, but I think you know who it is. This thing is filled. To do this review, this thing is filled with just pure alcohol all the way. Not really, I don't drink, but it's there. Okay, so this is the 20th episode, and we are doing The World Is Not Enough, 1999. The last Bond of the 90s. Woo! Alright, this is directed by Michael Apted. They wanted Robert Spottiswoode to come back, but he turned it down because the production of the last one, Tomorrow Never Dies, was just too chaotic. That is actually the reason he turned it down. It's too chaotic. I don't want to do this. Pierce Brosnan's third outing, he was 46 years old when he did this. Our Bond girl, Dr. Christmas Jones, Electra King, awesome. And then our sex bot, Dr. Molly Warmflash. Our villain is Renard, with a little special villain thrown in. BMW Z8 is our car, so beautiful. Our song, a grunge band. All right. It's The World Is Not Enough. So let's get in here let's go straight in. This was crazy. There's a shot in the beginning of the movie, in the opening of the movie, where they shoot in front of the real MI6, the real MI6 building. MI6, you know, the intelligence building. And they were trying to block it. They're like, no, you cannot shoot here. That's not going to happen. But I don't remember who, I forgot to write it down. Basically, like the prime minister or someone in high power vetoed it and said, no, they're allowed to shoot here. And the quote was, after all Bond has done for Britain, this is the least we can do for him. I like that little tidbit. Since Robert Spottiswoode wasn't going to come back, they had to go on a little hunt for our director. Several directors were asked and declined. The first being Peter Jackson. He may not look familiar to some of you, but he directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as the people in my inner circle would know him as the guy who directed Bad Taste and Dead Alive, or Brain Dead, if you want to call it that. He also did a great movie called Heavenly Creatures that was really good, and The Frighteners. He's a fantastic director, but they were going to ask him to do it, and the producer, Barbara Broccoli, saw The Frighteners and didn't like his style. I don't know if she didn't like his style, period, or she didn't like his style for Bond, because I personally think Peter Jackson's style is amazing. It's always a beautifully shot film. So, the next one considered was Joe Dante. Yes, he's holding a gremlin there, because that is the director of Gremlins. I think he's actually doing Gremlins 3. Pretty soon he did Gremlins 1 and 2. So, they were considered, didn't work. But we're going to jump right into the opening of this movie. This is the longest open in the history of Bond, standing at roughly 15 minutes. This opening is so long that the actual open credits for this do not even start until the second reel in theaters. This was back when they used reels. Yeah, reels. This is before digital. So we get that. Our longest one. Here we go. We open with Bond in a bank. And he's there. Looks like he's not there for any money transaction. No, he's here to find out who killed an agent. And he has a sweet gadget. They're like, oh, well, you're at a disadvantage. It's like 4-on-1. He's like, oh, really? He has a remote gun that explodes. It takes out a bunch of people. We get some pew-pew action. He finally gets to the banker, and he's like, who killed him? I can't tell you who killed him. And the banker gets killed before he gives up any information by an assassin who he immediately starts chasing. And this assassin is actually really hot. She's like a really attractive woman. So that's kind of cool. But she's not a Bond girl, so she didn't get a picture. Before he can actually chase after her, he's going to have to chase after her out the window. And he has one guy, he's like trying to get a little bit of information, but he's guy's about to kill him, pretty much. He's got the gun trained on him. He's still trying to get information from him. The guy's got the gun. He's like, he's like, but the guy gets killed by a sniper. We don't see who the sniper is. He's looking for the sniper. We don't know. Comes into play later. And then he uses a dude as an anchor when he jumps out the window. He ties a string to the guy and jumps out the window, and the guy just kind of gets caught on something, and Bond lands safely. Very Bond moment. Very cool Bond moment. So he actually survives all that, and he is going to back to MI6. He has saved the day. He has saved all the money. For some reason, he was after some money, like $5 million worth, and he brings it to MI6. He's like, okay, we did it. And Moneypenny's there. There's a funny moment for Moneypenny where she's like, did you bring me anything? And he brings her a cigar, and she just throws it in the trash, which was really funny. And they have a little flirtation moment. So he's in there. Everyone's congratulating him. The guy who's got his money back is finally happy, and he's walking away, gonna go collect his money, and Bond has noticed that the money is leaking something. So he has to go. He tries to stop him. Big boom booms. Blows up MI6 headquarters. Yeah, it's rigged money. Blows up $5 million. And then we notice that the assassin is back. She's trying to kill Bond, and we get in a boat chase. Granted, this is still the opening of the movie, by the way. All this is happening in the opening. So it's a very action-packed opening. And he steals one of Q's boats. It's a very small boat, but he's chasing after this assassin. We get this big-time boat chase. Another boat chase. This is like Roger Moore style. And there's a great Bond moment where she's going under a bridge that's lowering. She gets under it. She's fine, but Bond's trapped. What's Bond do? Well, this boat just happens to be able to dive underwater, like most Bond gadgets do. And he hits it underwater, dives underwater. We get a quick shot of this, which was really cool. While he's underwater, he's not encased in anything. He's underwater himself, and he's holding his breath. And he adjusts his tie. Very Bondy moment, and that was all Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan did that. He's like, what if I adjust my tie underwater? It would be a very Bond moment, and he did. And comes back up. Cool little moment. He has to catch up to the killer, and he drives this boat on land. And I don't mean just there's a thing and he jumps out of the water and skips across into more water. No, he's literally turning around corners in this boat. So apparently this boat can drive on land. Cool, whatever. She ends up kind of escaping. She gets on a hot air balloon. She's going to fly away. And Bond is like, you're not going to escape. She's being surrounded. You're not going to survive this. You come with me. I can help you. I can hide you. I can keep you safe. Her last words are not from him before she shoots, blows up the air balloon. Bond falls. He hits a bunch of chords, hurts his shoulder, and that's where the movie's title sequence starts. Very action-packed opening, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I'm sitting here thinking this movie is going to be great, but it is all downhill from here. Starts being just even the title sequence was cool because you have like liquid ladies. There's like oil dripping off of them and stuff, and they're only made of liquid. It's like, this is really neat. And then we have the music in the background, which is garbage. A very popular grunge band in the 90s, but this is not a very grungy song. This is a Bond song. Not one of my favorites. It's kind of generic Bond, which is weird because Shirley Manson is actually a very good singer, and she is good in this. It's just very generic. They were not the first person considered to sing the song. The first person considered to sing the song was Jamiroquai. Yeah, I guarantee you some of you have not heard of Jamiroquai. They were another band in the 90s that was very popular. But we get back to the movie. The movie starts. We're at the funeral of the guy who was blown up. His money was blown up with him. We're at his funeral, and we meet his daughter, Electra King. She's our Bond girl, played by the beautiful Sophie Marceau. This is a very cool Bond girl, very emotionally unstable Bond girl. This is not I wouldn't call her a weak Bond girl, but she does have some emotional problems. Explain it later. She wasn't supposed to originally be played by Sophie Marceau. The first person considered was Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone could have been in this movie, which would be cool. But because of this explosion that blew up the MI6 headquarters, they had to move. And of course, it's MI6. What are they going to do? They're going to move to Scotland into a castle. It's a castle. Well, that castle looks familiar. Well, it should, because it's the castle from Highlander. There can be only one. And what is the connection, children, of Highlander to James Bond? The connection is Sean Connery. Sean Connery was in Highlander. So, good job, class. Give yourself a pat on the back. After that, Bond is going to have to be taken out of commission because he hurt his shoulder. So he's visiting a doctor. He's going to seduce the doctor to get a clean bill of health. That doctor is Dr. Molly Warmflash, played by Serena Scott Williams. Serena Scott Williams has Scott Williams. I'm thinking of Goon. Serena Scott Thomas. Scott Thomas sounds like a very familiar name. That's because she is the sister of Kristen Scott Thomas, Oscar-winning actress, The English Patient, with Ralph Fiennes, who is in the Bond movies. Whoa, so many connections. Yeah. So we actually get to the point where he's going to go see Q. And this is a kind of a bittersweet scene here. We see Q. He's hanging out. He's looking at one of his newer inventions, which is bagpipes. They're playing Danny Boy, and there's that song that's always played at funerals. Forget what the name of it is right now. My brain ain't working. But he's playing, and Amazing Grace. He's playing Amazing Grace. That's it. And then this bagpipe thing turns into a machine gun, which is really freaking cool, I think. And this is where it kind of starts getting a little bittersweet. Q starts mentioning retirement, and at first it's cool because he's mentioning retirement, but he has a replacement. And Bond makes the joke, oh, if you're leaving and you're Q, then it must be R. And we meet who is now officially named R. And yes, that is John Cleese. The John Cleese, which is, yes. Anything with John Cleese, I'm so happy. And we see the new BMW. And John Cleese is just John Cleese. He is amazing because he has a new jacket to show Bond. It's a protection jacket. And he's like, show Bond how the jacket works. And in the most John Cleese fashion, he's like, well, first you take the right sleeve and you put your right arm in it, and then you take the left sleeve and you put your left arm in it. And it's just very John Cleese and amazing. So he shows him, he pulls the ripcord and it turns into a bubble. But here's where the bittersweet stuff happens. Q is mentioning retirement. R will be his replacement. And there's a point where Bond actually says, Q, you're not retiring anytime soon, are you? And you can actually see sadness in Pierce Brosnan's face. So he's actually sad about it. And there's a great Q moment where he says, I've taught you two things, Bond, be ready for anything, and also have a escape plan. And he hits a button and he starts sinking into the floor, trying to avoid the question. And here's where the sadness starts. After the release, the Q is played by Desmond Llewellyn. He is supposed to be in one more Bond for the full transition from Q to R. The problem was, a few weeks after the release of this film, Desmond Llewellyn died in a car accident. So this is the last time we see Q. And it's again a sad moment. And I don't like giving sad facts, but it did happen. But bittersweet. There's a sweet moment. We do get a replacement of John Cleese. So I'm okay with that. I love John Cleese. All right, this is where we will learn the meat and potatoes. Elektra is a kidnapped victim. Elektra was kidnapped and tortured and other things. And her dad was trying to buy her back with a $5 million. But we learn more meat in that M said that they do not negotiate with terrorists and he should not pay the money. So there's a lot of stuff going on between him and Elektra and her father. It's a big thing, but Elektra's not. He's not okay. She's not okay, and we don't meet him outright, but we see who our bad guy is, and our bad guy is Renard, who is insane. He has one of the double O agents. He has killed a double O agent. That's the agent we were talking about at the beginning of the movie. He has killed a double O agent, but not before that double O agent shot him in the head at point blank. There was a bullet lodged in his medulla oblongata that is slowly killing him, and he will die soon. But until then, every day he gets stronger, and he feels no pain. So this guy doesn't feel anything, and he is a baddie. He's also an awesome actor. If you don't know, he is Robert Carlyle. Super great actor. Plays good villains, so this will work. There is another moment right after this when he meets up with Elektra and he's talking to her, and Elektra says, "Have you ever lost a loved one?" And Bond looks dejected and immediately changed the subject. Now, when I first saw this, I thought they were talking about Bond's wife. They are not talking about Bond's wife. The director said this was, or the writer and the director both said that was actually a callback to Terry Hatcher's death in Tomorrow Never Dies. So that kind of deflates that moment for me. I think it should have been about his wife, because Terry Hatcher was in the movie for all of 3 scenes. So no, I'm going to pretend that it's about his wife. So we get Bond skiing again. Yeah, Bond skiing. This is becoming a Roger Moore movie. Boat chases, skiing, and he's skiing. The thing is, Brosnan does not know how to ski. So whenever you see close up of Brosnan, he's actually standing in front of a screen, and you see the trees going by, and he's just doing this. So this is not Pierce Brosnan. This is clearly a stunt double. Nothing wrong with that, right? But him and Elektra, because she's showing him where the oil pipeline's going. She is an oil tycoon, which explains the oil at the beginning of the movie. And there's some bad guys coming in on ski-doos and parachutes, and we get some ski-doo bad guy pew-pews. They're chasing him, and he's going to have to take them out. He takes out a few of them he doesn't have a gun, so he's having to blow them up anyway. One of them, he actually drives off the edge of the cliff, and he's like, "Ha, gotcha!" And another parachute opens. He flies out. He's going to come back and get him. At the end of it, he ends up blowing up the final 2, but it causes an avalanche, and he grabs Elektra and pulls the cord on his jacket, the magical bubble jacket, and they're saved, but they're in an enclosed space, and Elektra freaks the heck out. She's like, "Oh my god, I gotta get out of here," because of the kidnapping. They kept her in a small space. So, a very cool callback. Now he has to go figure out. The whole point of this is Bond is trying to figure out who killed Elektra's father. That's the point. There's nothing really more than that yet. And this is another one of those cases where the ending of the film comes a little too late. It's like we need a little more danger. I'm not a big fan of the Bond chasing someone for killing someone kind of thing. I'm like, there should be a little more meat to it. Yeah, we have the side story of Elektra, but it's just So we get the. He's going to have to go in there. He goes into the casino, and he's wearing these glasses, and they're X-ray glasses. And of course, Bond is checking out all the chicks. He's just like, all right, cool. But he's seeing who all has guns and everything. And so he's in here, and he finally gets to the back, but not before we meet this guy. His name is Goldie. He has an all-gold grill, and this whole movie, this is Goldmouth, flea market Jaws, if you will, but this is Goldie, and he becomes kind of Bond's nemesis in a way in this movie, even though they never really fight. But it does happen. And before he can get any information from our guy, what was his name? Tchaikovsky, I think his name is. He was actually in the last one too. But before we can get anything, Miss Elektra shows up. She walks up to Tchaikovsky. She's like, "I want to bet $1 million on a card game." This is in a casino. He's like, I want to bet $1 million on a card game." She's like, "What do you want to play?" Blah blackjack? What? And she's like, high card. You draw a higher card than me, and you get $1 million. And he does, and she just hands him $1 million, no problem. Neither of them are like, okay, cool. And it comes into play later whenever Bond is like, now why did you not even bat an eye when you got $1 million from this girl? But we actually get to meet Renard and his pain thing. Renard, they're at these natural fires, and he's picking up rocks, and it's just like, yeah, these rocks are scalding hot, stuff like that. He puts one in another guy's hand, and it's nuts. He's like, ow, 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 very cool. And we see that he's a very cold-hearted person. He's shooting people. He's killing his henchmen. Yeah. And we get to the point where Elektra and Bond are bonding. Now, this movie, I'm mentioning a few things, but starting after the avalanche, this movie starts dragging. Like, we are just, we go to the casino, it's a funny moment, sure, but it's still just kind of dragging the story along. The betting $1 million, the Renard scolding Rock thing, even that is just kind of dragging the movie, and you're just like, come on, man, get to something. Something's got to happen. Lecter and Bond do things, and this movie's still dragging. We kind of pick up when we get to the plutonium mines, and we meet Christmas Jones, played by Denise Richards. She was so bad in this. Like, the acting is horrible. Her character isn't interesting at all. It's just, and Denise Richards tries to play this like tough, smart aleck, and it does not come off right. She is without a doubt the worst Bond girl I've ever seen. This is so awful. She was actually supposed to be played by Tiffany Thiessen. Tiffany Thiessen, Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. Tiffany Thiessen. Yeah, boy. I like Tiffany Thiessen. But we're at the plutonium mines, and we get to see Bond and Renard talk. And we find out that Renard was the sniper that saved Bond in the beginning, just so Bond could take the money back to MI6 and blow it up. So he set Bond up. And then he's talking about he's stealing a bomb. He's going to steal one of these plutonium warheads, because he's going to set it off and blow up some people. We're going to blow up the world. That's what we're going for this time. And it doesn't exactly work out for him, because Bond gets the pew-pews going, and he's going to escape. So he's going to steal the bomb. We has gunfights, and he's chasing Renard. He's closing the doors with the bomb. The bombs are going off. Doors are open. There's a cool point where a bomb goes off, and Bond has to jump on some chains and slide down a pipe. That was cool. They escape with the tracker of the bomb, which is not a good thing, because they took the bomb out. Therefore, they can't track the bomb. So he survives all of this, and Bond goes back to Elektra, but immediately he's like accusing her. He's like, you're working with Renard, because there's too many things going on. There's too many coincidences that you're not. And she makes him feel bad. She's like, look, I was kidnapped, blah, 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 blah. Oh my goodness, And he's feeling bad, it's all right. But he actually tells him, he's like, no, I think she's working with the guy. Everyone's just like, no. But so far as we know, no, she's not working with anybody. So, we're going back to the plutonium mines, because they know, well, not the plutonium mine, but the oil track, because we know where the bomb's going. They find the bomb, they're going down the tube tracks, they disarm it, but they're like, wait, this isn't the bomb, this is a dummy. And he's like, just let it explode. And through this whole thing, Denise Richards somehow gets worse. Her acting gets worse. In this pipe, she is so terrible. Like, because she's trying to be sexy at the same time that she's trying to be smart. And, like, that is not hard to pull off. Sexy is smart. And for some reason, she makes it look difficult. Like, Denise Richards is the worst. I loved her in Starship Troopers. Like, she's not that bad of a character in Starship Troopers. Yeah, she's kind of a jerk because she left Johnny, and she's, like, going off to do her own thing and, like, dating the douchebag. But, and in Wild Thing, she was great. But this, she is, wow, bad. This is awful. I can see why people do not like this movie, but they let the bomb explode, and they let everyone think they're dead. And since Elektra knows that Bond's dead, now she turns and she is bad. She is a bad girl, and she kidnaps M. She kills everyone in the room, kidnaps M. She's gonna get revenge. Finally, Renard and Elektra meet up, and it turns out they're in love. Weird, considering that Renard kidnapped kidnapped Elektra, and even when him and Bond are talking in the plutonium mines, he says some wicked things because he's like, "Oh, so you had Elektra? What's it like having a woman that I broke in?" It's like, wow, that's wow, dude. But they're together and they're gonna kill him. They put a clock in front of her and they're like, when that hits that time, you're dead. It's like, okay, but M has the tracker. Ooh. And she's going to use that to tell them where she is. All right. And we get Bond. He's got to find out where M is, and he goes back to Tchaikovsky or whatever his name is, and they get chased by this monstrosity. If you can't see what that is a helicopter with a saw on it, and they're sawing houses in half. But Bond has his awesome BMW, and he is gonna missile some copters out of the air, and it's like, yeah, that's a bad car, man. But then this happens. Yeah, they saw the car in half. It's awful. Made me feel bad. Anyway, but it doesn't matter because he's gonna get out. And let me tell you something. I can't show it to you exactly because I can't bring it up that close, but this Bond he's escaping, and there's a lot of dudes on the ground, and he's blowing them away. And this is my exact note. Bond pew pew everybody. That is my exact note. Because that he did. He was just weighing laced everybody with guns. And it's a crazy thing. He's sitting here like Oprah, man. Like, you get a bullet, and you get a bullet, and you get a bullet. Everybody gets a bullet. You know? It's nuts. It was crazy. But he got out, and friggin' Goldmouth comes out of nowhere. Flea Market Jaws comes out of nowhere and sets Bond up and takes him. They take him. It's awful. He ends up dying, though, so it's okay. He's put in this torture chair by Elektra that it's like a thing around his neck, and it pushes his neck forward and chokes him out and stuff. And this is where we get our villain monologue, where Elektra, we find out that not only was Elektra a part of the kidnapping, she cut her own earlobe off to make it. She tortured herself to make it look like, make it look like she had been tortured. But she's not mad at M or her dad. She's mad at her dad for not paying the money. She's not mad at M for talking her dad out of paying the money. She's mad at M because she didn't get the money. Like, that's it. It has nothing to do with, oh, you're going to let me die. It was, you didn't give me my money. So she is just insane. Just insane. But Tchaikovsky comes in there and kills Budget Jaws, and comes in and gets shot by Elektra. But right before he passes away, he picks up his cane that has a gun in it. He points at Elektra, but then points it at Bond. Elektra's like, whoa. And he shoots Bond in the ankle cuff, pops free. So he's free now. Elektra doesn't know this because Elektra turns around and says, wow, that guy really hated you. And but no, he chases her down. He actually gets out, chases Elektra down, meets her in a room, and he's like, he's gonna get her, and in cold blood, he's like, you're gonna tell him to stop these missiles, and she doesn't do it, so kills her in cold blood. M sees the whole thing, and it's just first time she's seen Bond kill in cold blood. I don't know why he does what he does next, but he goes and he saves Christmas. He saves Christmas Jones, and Dr. Christmas Jones, and it's just the worst. Like, I'm sorry, I would have let her drown. She was horrible. But we get a sub fight with Renard, and to where at first it's just going to be a talking to until he says, yeah, I killed her. I killed Elektra. And then they has fights. They're fighting, but how are you going to fight a man that doesn't feel pain? The whole time they're fighting, he'll knock Bond down, try to put the missile back so he can set it off. Bond will save it, knock him down, put the missile back. He finally gets the missile in there, and Bond says, in a very Bond moment, "She's waiting for you." He turns around, hits it, the bomb comes out, impales the man. He's dead. They get out of the sub before it explodes. And then we have the final scene of Bond getting some from Christmas, where he gives horrible Christmas puns, including, "I thought Christmas only came once a year." Yeah, this movie. So that was it. I rushed through this one on purpose because this was, I'm not going to say that it's lower. I'm not going to say it's like on the bottom of the list, but this is lower tier Bond. Like, it's probably 5th or 6th down from the bottom. Wasn't good. It had a 7, but Christmas Jones knocked this down to a 6.5 out of 10. Christmas Jones did that. Like, the boringness knocked it down to a 7. But 6.5 out of 10. This was not the greatest Bond. I can see why. I've never seen this at the top of anybody's list. I now know why. Body count 27, love count 3. All right. Yeah. But that's the end of that. I'm going to go ahead and skip on. I'm just going to do it because next we're entering the 2000s. We're in the 2000s with James Bond here. Going to be Die Another Day from 2002. How do you say that? Lee Tamahor. Lee Tamahor is our director. Pierce Brosnan in his very last outing as Bond. We have Halle Berry as Jinx, and Rosamund Pike is in this movie, which is, yes, I like Rosamund Pike. And we have one of the weirder villains. We'll get to that next time. Ford Fairlane is in this, and he drives an Aston Martin Vanquish, and this is one of those that people hated. They hated this car, and we'll get to that next time. The song is Die Another Day by Madonna, and Madonna actually has a cameo in this film, and it's a really bad cameo. I think it won a Razzie. I'm pretty sure that Madonna won a Razzie for Worst Supporting Actress or something like that. Well, that's a fact about The World Is Not Enough. The World Is Not Enough is the first ever Bond film to win a Razzie. If you don't know what a Razzie is, it's the Raspberry Awards where they give the worst to. It's like worst picture. Instead of best picture, best actor, it's worst picture, worst actor. And Denise Richards got worst actress for that role. But all right, join me next time. Thank you for watching Die Another Day. And after that, we're into the Daniel Craig Bonds. All right, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. It's Die Another Day. See you then.